Hello chess friends and welcome to Jozarov chess channel and welcome to an incredible game that has been played a couple of days ago in the We Are Chess Masters in 2023. We have here Gukesh versus Praggnanandhaa, the top Indian derby, really the top Prodigy derby here in this beautiful chess event, and both of them played, I think, really great tournaments before. They're maybe not the favorites to win the whole thing, but many times they gave us really surprises in these events. Many times we see maybe Praggnanandhaa beating Carlsen, Gukesh beating also another top grandmaster. So although, as I said, they haven't won so far one of these big events, but they have really a bright future, and in the next 10-15 years the match between Gukesh and Praggnanandhaa will basically mean who wins this game will maybe even win the whole thing. So in the next 10-15 years maybe this will be also the world championship match, which would be also incredible to see in Indian derby for the world championship throne. So really they have a bright future, and also outside of field I think they're really great kids. They have great manners. When you watch their interviews, they're really so smart, and I really love this kid. So I would love to see them, of course, in the next couple of years really dominating all over the field. So let's see now what happened. Although probably they're friends, this game was not so friendly because this was such a huge tactical clash. This was such a huge tactical battle. Incredible game they played. Let's see now what happened in the Indian derby. So Gukesh played with the white pieces, opened with the move e4. Praggo's response was e5. We have knight to f3, knight to c6, bishop to c4. After bishop to c5, we have the Giuoco Piano. After c3, we have knight to f6, attacking the pawn on e4. We have now the move d3, which is now the Giuoco Pianissimo. And after move d6, you see we have here this similar pawn structure, this symmetrical pawn structure in the center of the board, and both players are going into solid structures. So it's a position that has been played millions and millions of times. So here in continuation b4, kicking the bishop, we have bishop to b6, and now of course a4. The serious stress is to play a5, trapping the bishop. So that's why here Praggnanandhaa continues with a5, of course, creating some breathing spaces. We have now the move b5, and after knight to e7, kingside casting, and knight to g6. Let's stop and evaluate a little bit the position. So as I said, this is a position that has been reached many times in chess history. Both players have something in the game. I think first of all what white has as an advantage is of course the space advantage, because we have here the pawn already on the 5th rank, which occupies of course the other side of the board. The bishop on c4 is very active. The knight on f3 is also on a solid place. We have here, as I said, also the possibility maybe to break through in the center with the move d4, so it's also one strategic plan. On the other hand, I like also black's activity. First of all, the bishop on b6 is still a good piece, although it has been pushed a little bit all over the board by this pawn storms on the queen side, but the bishop is still good. The knight on g6 becomes more and more really the best piece on the board, because it can jump on f4, where it creates of course also some strategic ideas. Knight on f6 is of course pretty good, and also the bishop on c8 is a good piece because it can be used in the attack on the g4, because we can also pin the knight on f3. So here in the continuation, Gukesh continues with knight to d2. We have now kingside casting, and now bishop to b3 played by Gukesh. He's trying to get the knight on c4, attacking the bishop on b6, and this idea I've seen also in a beautiful game played by Fabiano Caruana against Hikaru Nakamura. Nakamura actually won the game with the black pieces. It was also a beautiful game. The move knight to c4 is an idea, is a threat, but this threat can be solved immediately, like Praggnanandhaa did with the move c6. And now after move knight to c4, okay, you have your fun with the move bishop to c7, but I think this is nothing spectacular for white, and there is a huge problem now for white too. Here we have this idea, bishop to g4, and okay, you had your fun, as I said, you attacked the bishop, but now you're not defending anymore the knight on f3. So the knight on f3 could be again pinned by this bishop's activity. So it's something that has to be noticed here, because it will be now the whole concept of Praggnanandhaa's game, the pin against the knight on f3. So here in the continuation, bishop to g5 was played by Gukesh, also pinning the knight, but this pin is not so dangerous like black's pin would have been, because the move bishop to g5 can be kicked away with the move immediately with the move h6, and you see now you cannot go to h4, you cannot stay on this diagonal because of this beautiful knight on g6 activity. You have to maybe retreat or give up the bishop for a knight. After queen to f6, then maybe you have this kind of an idea, but again, nothing spectacular. I think black gets out of this mess, and as a long-term plan, maybe our goal of the move d5 could work. So far it's not possible, but it could be maybe prepared in the continuation of the game. So as I said, this move bishop to g5 is not so dangerous like maybe the move bishop to g4 that black would have played. And here that's why Praggnanandhaa plays now a brilliant idea. He plays now immediately the move d5. This is really the way to go, because he is sensing that, as I said, the knight went to c4, is not coordinated, and again to the defense of the knight on f3, and suddenly also this bishop can come into the game, and we have now already a beautiful dynamic position in the center of the board. So let's see what happens. For instance, if you play e takes d5, this wasn't here the continuation by Gukesh. In the continuation, of course, you get this one, but now after knight to e3, bishop to e6 is an opportunity here for black. Black can actually defend this position here around the square d5, and you could maybe try bishop to f6. Black doesn't want to, of course, take out with the queen because you lose the d5 pawn. Actually, here you can take also with the g pawn, so it doesn't matter. But still, I think this is a solid game for black, especially because of the fact that e4 is coming and also this bishop gets liberated. So it's not such a weak position, I think, here for black. So in any line, I think black is really solid here. So I think it's a beautiful preparation that Praggnanandhaa has here. He plays now the move d5, and here Gukesh sensed the problems of the d5 score, so he took the knight immediately out, forcing now the queen to f6, and now he played e takes d5. After here c takes d5, if you play this, then after knight to e3, you see the d5 cannot be protected anymore. You can play, of course, bishop to e6, but it's a different story. We simply pick up the pawn on d5 with this beautiful attack. So if you so that was his idea. He plays first bishop to f6. It's not allowing g takes f6, and now he is continuing, as I said, the attack against the pawn on d5. But now again, a brilliant idea here by Praggnanandhaa. He's saying take your pawn, but now I have this idea. I have this beautiful pin. That's the beautiful part here of Praggnanandhaa's preparation. The engine, for instance, gives here equal chances, but I kind of would love to play more this game from black's perspective. I have to be honest, I would love to play now this dynamic game with the black pieces, with my powerful bishops all over, crossing all over the board. Here this bishop is very powerful, this bishop is pinning. We have still this mobile pawn that can create, of course, some madness in the continuation of the game. For instance, if you play d takes c6, let's see what could be maybe the main mistake here. It was, I think, sort of a dirty trap that Praggnanandhaa prepared it, and actually e4 is even possible. You can even sacrifice 3 pawns here, because after d takes e4, the rook is coming into the game, and look at this. Even if you play e5, bishop to e5, we can take it immediately. Queen to c2 or something is not working, because you get simply bishop to f3, queen to f3, your whole position is falling apart. The knight comes on f4. This is a dangerous piece. As I said, even if you play queen to e2, we can play knight to f4 immediately. So everything is so messed up here in white's position. So really stunning tactic it would have been if of course Gukesh would have taken the pawn on c6. But Gukesh sensed some blood here. Of course, he noticed that he could have some problems, so that's why he didn't take the pawn on c6. He played now knight to e3, brought another defender into the game, which was a good choice. Praggnanandhaa, of course, plays bishop to h5, stays on his diagonal, very important move. And now here Gukesh plays the move d takes c6. We have b takes c6, b takes c6. Here Gukesh is saying, okay, I've defended this position for a while. Now I'll grab your pawns and I'll try to connect my pawns. He's trying now to maybe play d4 and maybe d5. If that happens in a good way, then I think white could have really a solid game. So here Praggu plays e4. Really stunning move. You have to react. Again, d takes e4. And now he made maybe his first tiny little inaccuracy. He played knight to h4. Many of us, I think, would play this move. I think 90% of every player would play knight to h4. And this seems like a brilliant move. There is a triple attack against the knight. We can use the pin. And it seems so that actually white cannot even defend this position. But actually, what Praggu should have played is here rook from a to d8. Because we saw after queen to e2, the serious threat is always the move knight to f4. So the queen cannot escape here to the e file. So what you have to do is to play here maybe knight to d5, locking now the d file. But actually look at this, black has really some dirty ideas here. After rook to d5, bishop to d5, very important move to keep somehow the bishop connected to the knight. And now we want to play e5, liberating the long diagonal and get a new defender into the game. That was some kind of idea. But for instance, if you play e takes d5 in this particular position, then knight to e5 is winning the game. There's simply too much pressure. As we said, the bishop is simply too far away from the action, far away from the defense. The pin is too powerful here. So as I said, you have to play something like bishop to d5. But now again, knight to e5. Look at this. This was the way to go. Rook to d8, sacrificing the rook for the exchange and then get the knight into the game. I think many of us would mess this up. Even you have to play here knight to e5 in this particular position. You have to even sacrifice the queen here. Bishop to d1, knight to e7, bishop to h7. Look at this. Is just a pervert Stockfish 15 engine that I'm showing you. But as I said, this is maybe the way to go here for black, going with the queen here in the continuation of the game. So this was the way to go. But here Praggnanandhaa played knight to h4, which is still not losing for him. Still, it's an equal game. But rook to d8 would have been really a brilliant choice by the young Prodigy. So here, knight to d5. Now, again, with the same idea. Locking the d file, at least attacking the queen, at least getting the queen out of the attack. Here, Gukesh is saying, okay, I have some problems around the square f3, but at least the queen is not participating in the attack. So that's why the rook to d8 would have been much more powerful here by Praggnanandhaa. So queen to h6. Pragu continues the pressure. Look how Pragu is also sneaky here. He's trying to get something also around the square h2, because knight to f3, bishop to f3, and bishop queen takes h2 is of course a beautiful tactical shot. You can get even checkmated on the h2 square. So that's why Gukesh is saying again, I'm losing my battle around the square f3. But at least if I lose my battle also around the square h2, I have at least some kind of an escape route for the king. The king can come to e2 afterwards, and maybe I can secure the king behind this pawn. It's an idea. And here again, Praggnanandhaa rushes in the attack. He plays now the move bishop takes h2. This seems tempting, but actually look at this. After bishop to h2, you don't have to accept the challenge. You don't want to play, of course, king takes h2, because after knight to f3, g takes f3. Look at this. Bishop to f3 is winning the game. That's the problem of the h-file attack. But as I said, white can get out of this attack by playing king to f1. And still, white has here these three pawns, these three mobile pawns, which could cause here really some problems, because if they get advanced, then we have also potential promotion. This is also something that we should consider in this position. If the game reaches the endgame stage, if white defends now this position, this is winning for white, because we have the pass on the c file. So a better idea, instead of this move bishop to h2, again would have been here the move rook from a to d8. Again, paralyzing the knight. The knight is now a very important defender in the game. Rook from a to d8, in my opinion, has to be played. Now after queen to d3, we can play now bishop to f3, g takes f3. But now with knight to g6 and some ideas of rook to d5, again knight to f4, we can reroute here the pieces again. We can again have this beautiful h-file attack. You have to play something like f4 now. Look at this, bishop to f4. You cannot take out with the knight. So this was the way to go. This was again a much better continuation here for Praggnanandhaa. As I said, the d-file attack he should have used many times in this particular game. Missed this, unfortunately. Rushed, I think, simply into the attack, because there is a certain rule in chess that says that you should attack your opponent with all of your pieces. Imagine now this attack, this brutal attack that Praggnanandhaa pulled off here, also with the rook now in the continuation. I think rook to d8 has had to be played many times now in the game. So as we said, after bishop to h2, again, this is not losing. That's the point. Here, still black has some chances, but it was maybe a slightly little inaccurate move here by Praggnanandhaa. So in the continuation, king to f1. Here, Gukesh is saying, okay, you have your fun, you took one pawn, but I finally get out of this tactical mess. And if I maybe reroute even the king here to c2, I'm pretty secure, because there are two pawns in front of it. So here the continuation, rook to a7. And this was now really unnecessary here by Praggnanandhaa. The problem is this idea. The problem is always knight to e8, knight to e7, and maybe to reroute the knight on f5, maybe get some new defenders into the game, or at least somehow lock the position. Rook to e8, I think, solves also the particular problem. Now after c7, we can play bishop to f3. Again, we could release the pressure, g takes f3. And now with rook to c8, I think black can hold this position. We can give up, I think, the bishop for the knight here and for the pawn. We will eventually take out the pawn and still continue with our ideas. Knight to g6, knight to f4, and still with this beautiful attack on the h. Of course, queen to d3 would be continuation. We take now, of course, also white can eventually secure the king like this, but this was also maybe a different continuation here for Praggnanandhaa. Again, he played rook to a7. Probably he was bothered by this knight to e2 ideas, and here Gukesh says, okay, I'm getting out finally with queen to d3, bishop takes f3, g takes f3, queen to c6. Okay, but now Gukesh is saying this is not dangerous anymore. You had your possibilities in the game. Now, in my honest opinion here, I think black's attack is splashed. This is not so dangerous anymore. The previous position were, how are we going to solve this? Now, with the move f4, I think Gukesh is getting out. Gukesh defended this position in a beautiful way. Although also in these other sequences that I've told you, probably Gukesh would have found maybe the drawish sequence or something. But I think Praggnanandhaa made simply too many inaccurate moves in this attack here. After move f4, queen to h6. Again, Prago is trying the same motif to get the queen somehow into the game. But Gukesh is saying, I locked the position now. I have now really dominating center, and now it's time to push maybe also this pawn. We have rook to b7, hitting the bishop on b3. Gukesh protects this, of course, and now after rook to b8, bishop to c2, protecting now, of course, also the first rank. Everything is glued together, everything is compact, competing on the b file. But also in some occasions, if this long diagonal somehow liberates, there is also a possible tactic maybe around the square h7. So here Praggnanandhaa plays queen to g5. In the continuation, we have now rook takes b7, rook takes b7, and now e5. As we said, the pawns are rolling now. This is not so dangerous anymore. In the continuation, we have now rook to b2 here by Praggnanandhaa, and this was now game over. Here it's the main mistake here by Praggnanandhaa. You can play, of course, something like queen to g2. Probably you're surviving this position for black a little bit, because we can play king to e2. You can play again check. We play f3. You can play a new check, and after king to d1, what you can do is, of course, queen to f3. After queen to f3, knight to f3, we get out. And still, in my opinion, this is a better position for white, because white is here the passers. This is not working, so also you cannot, of course, pick up here this pawn with the knight, which simply the rook takes h2. If you pick up here this position with the bishop with the pawn with the bishop, then we have rook to e3. Both pieces would be hanging, so again, this is not working. So as I said, after queen to g4, f3, queen to g2, you could, of course, also take out with the knight here, but with knight to e7, queen to d8, this is also a beautiful checkmate sequence. So there are simply too many opportunities just for white. So after move e5 that Praggnanandhaa played queen to g2, solves for a little bit, as I said, the position, and here was the crucial mistake, rook to b2. And maybe you can pause the video now and try to see now the winning tactic here for white. It's winning for white immediately. It's even a forced checkmate. Pause the video and try to see now the best move here for white. So it's a brilliant tactic, and Gukesh saw that and eventually won the game. So okay, the brilliant move is knight to e7. A really cool move here by Gukesh, because after queen to e7 now comes the stunner f6, and this is wild because the queen is hanging. Look at this. If you don't react, you get checkmated. Queen to each. If you play something like g takes f6, look at this. We have now this one, g takes f6. Pardon me. Here you simply pick up first the pawn, and then you have queen to h8. A beautiful checkmate. So this would be the winning sequence. So in this position, actually, after move f6 in this position, Praggnanandhaa resigns. So, what to say? Incredible attack, I think, by Praggnanandhaa. It seems to me that he has something prepared, somewhere prepared this at home, this tactical sequence, this new cool ideas in the Italian game. But he missed his tactics, I think, many times. Although, as I said, the tactics that I showed you were not the tactics in which Gukesh is losing the game. These were tactics in which Praggnanandhaa had maybe the opportunity to keep the pressure, to be very active in his position. So you see, the Italian game is still so unexplored they're really still cool new opportunities that can be played in top grandmaster level. Incredible, I think, studies here by both of them. I think this was a brilliant game by Gukesh in a defensive way, but also a beautiful game by Praggnanandhaa in a beautiful attacking way. So as I said, these are still young fellas. Imagine how they're going to play the game in 5-6 years. They will be incredible, they'll be sharper, they'll be better in tactics, so as I said in the beginning, they have really a bright future. So incredible game here played by Gukesh and Praggnanandhaa. They're still playing, of course, in this beautiful chess event. We'll cover, of course, more of their games. If you want to see more analyzed games like this, check out my comments chess games. Here's also the link of our whole playlist, and if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you with some more videos and what to say. Chess is the best, of course.